Hi everybody, my name is Laura Kirby-McIntosh and I'm the president of the Ontario Autism Coalition. I'm the mom to two kids on the spectrum, well, adults now. I'm also a teacher and I'm also an activist. The Ontario Autism Coalition, which has been around since 2005, is a grassroots advocacy organization that fights for publicly funded, evidence-based, ethical services for autistic people and their families. And what I want to talk about tonight is what's currently going on in the education system. There's been a lot of public discussion and perhaps even debate recently about the decision of the Ontario government to allow some students with special needs to continue to attend school if they cannot be accommodated through online learning. This is happening mostly in Southern Ontario. The COVID-19 pandemic, of course, has hit the disability community particularly hard, removing access to vital supports and services in the community due to government restrictions aimed at slowing the spread of the virus. Families in the autism community have been cut off from life-changing behavioral therapy, respite care, and other essential resources. The endless changes to the school routine and the drive to move learning online has really been disastrous for many autistic students and has, unfortunately, for some resulted in regression, loss of skills, and spikes in aggression and self-injurious behavior. This has been particularly difficult as well for parents that are at home in lockdown trying to support those kids. So the decision to keep schools open so that some semblance of normalcy and routine can be felt for those students is, I believe, the right decision. However, more needs to be done to ensure consistency for students, and much more needs to be done to protect the safety of our education workers. Decisions about which classrooms remain open for which special needs students were left to individual school boards, leading to frustrating inequities and inconsistencies across the province. There was confusion about which students with which disabilities would be allowed to return to school and which ones were being told that they would have to take part in an online learning system which isn't fully accessible and doesn't accommodate their needs. As with almost all announcements from this education minister, there was very little time between the announcement and its implementation, which left school board officials scrambling to try to put together plans at the very last minute. And then this, in turn, led to poor communication on the ground with both families and education workers. Many didn't know what was going on, or who to call, or how things were going to work. This is totally unacceptable. The ministry must do better when making these kinds of announcements. Furthermore, the Ford government must act immediately to ensure that education workers being called upon to support our most vulnerable children feel safe and protected when they go to work. If we're going to ask education workers and students to enter school buildings at the height of a pandemic, we must provide the best personal protective equipment available. There should also be asymptomatic testing, regular temperature checks, and access to vaccinations for all of those who are going into school buildings right now. Today's announcement that teachers will be vaccinated during stage 2 is welcome news, but why did the initial version not include education assistants, special education resource teachers, and others who work in schools? I mean, we're glad that the government updated the press release, but this is exactly the kind of last-minute activity that causes chaos and confusion for everyone. Now, there's no single solution that will be right for all families. Some are choosing to keep their children home and are finding ways to make it work. Some have tried and simply can't. Online learning is, if you'll forgive the pun, virtually impossible for many students, especially those with disabilities. If we are to allow students with special needs to continue to go to school during the lockdown, then we must do more to treat those students and those who work with them fairly. Thanks very much for listening, and please feel free to share this video with anyone you think needs to hear it. Take care and stay safe.